Welcome to the Jehovah Chronicles with your host, Cosmon Cal.
That's right, it's your hostess with the mostest holding that fire like a roach clip. Your noggin, your nerve, fresh off of that curved jelly jam and preserved Cosmoni. Right back up in it like I left some more praises to the ever-present creator. Shout out to the gang and all those who are diligently seeking higher light. This is one of the dope parts about Oahspe, right? That I always like, that when it tell you something, you dig what I'm talking about, that you don't really know about, it give you a way to prove it. You dig what I'm talking about, in ways that you never even thought about, or many of them have just been hiding right in your face. You dig what I'm talking about, but it gives a authoritative nature to the narrative being told in Oahspe, because what it does say is goes on to be proven objectively, historically, right? Just in an Oahspe will just flippantly say something, you know what I mean? And yet that be the linchpin to how to prove it. It's crazy. You dig what I'm saying? But let's just cook for a little bit. You dig what I'm talking about? And we jump right into it. This ain't gonna be long. All right, y'all. Let's go.
Jehovah is as near this day as in the time of the ancients. Put yourself in order, becoming one with him. And no book is so easily read as his created universe. Inspiration comes less by books than by what Jehovah wrote. His worlds read him and his works. Frame your speech and your thoughts for him. He will answer you in your own behavior and in the happiness of your soul. Great wisdom cannot be attained in a day, nor purity and strength to overcome temptation, till the growth is from the foundation. The fool will say, the sacred books are no more than man of his own knowledge could write. Yet he has not wisely imitated the power of the words of your God. Let him do this well, and behold, he will also declare my words are from me. Yes, he will recognize them wherever found. It is the will and wish of your God that all men become constitutionally capable of receiving and comprehending the highest life, and that they shall no longer depend upon any priest, church, oracle, holy book, or upon consulting the spirits, and that their behavior may make the earth a place of peace, with long life to all people, for the glory of Jehovah. To his Etherian gods and goddesses, Jehovah said, as you have founded arcs of light in my Etherian heavens to determine the travel of my corporeal worlds, so shall my God of the earth inspire mortals to build lighthouses for man's ships that travel on the oceans, and those who travel in the ships. And those on the land shall know when a ship nears the port, even as you see my traveling earth approaching the place of Cosmo. For this shall be an illustration to mortals, that I have appointed cycles of times and dawns of times, with gods and goddesses to superintend my creations in tenderness and love, lest by chance man becomes despondent, saying, alas, Jehovah did not provide in wisdom commensurate with the magnificence of his creations. Behold, the time draws near when the nations of the earth shall course around the whole earth in ships, crossing the seas and oceans to all the places I created.
Yeah, I feel good right now. The atmospheric, green skies, the gang coming. I be in and out, so leave that thing running. Purified is preferred. Higher frequency, a higher bird. I observe on a different nerve. Breaking codes, I am the yoga. Deadly as a Ruger, straight and a shooter. Out the holster with this mudra, inoculation with the wisdom. Creator shape my prism and hit them with no schisms. Perfect. Reason turn the light up. Y'all disappointing like 9 to 5 and some write-ups. Something rearranged, let that boy cook. Organization 33, stay up in them books. Lead them boys shook. 46 divided, yeah, I'm Fort Michael. It was only rifle that I came up in this cycle. They say they gangsters, but they telling it. Step outside, take off my shoes and let the sun hit my melon, Had to be learned that the herb beat the medicine. It's the same matrix, so who you think you better than? Perfect.
Right back like I left it. This is Jehovah Chronicles, number 263, the historical nature of Oahspe. Now, I didn't even start this to be a lesson. I just happened to be reading in the O, and then, I come across some things, it sounds fantastical, right? But then you got to ask yourself, is there objective proof here on earth to found the claim being made by Oahspe, right? We can't just believe it just because it say it. I don't care what no book say. Oahspe neither, right? If it ain't willing to stick its neck out there about the information and stand on what it's saying, and then have the ability to prove itself objectively, I just ain't dealing with it. You know what I mean? No hard feelings, but the thing is, Oahspe keep proving itself true. Huh? Now, this is the book of Esther, right? It is a time of destruction on the planet where many of the great civilizations of the world are burned and buried. under massive amounts of corporeal material falling out of the sky. This is called Eskra, or Eskara, or spiritual death from above. Many great societies were, or what are called great societies, were utterly wiped out by a natural event that burned it, wiped it clean like a bomb would hit it, and then buried it in the same event. This is during this time that you're going to learn. This time is called the Bronze Age collapse, right? Because we're going to finally get into these people who move into an area, right? Become the rulers without fighting, for the most part, without fighting, and leave out without fighting, pretty much. Right? And go on to live right next to the people they was just ruling. Oahspe says there's a reason for that. Why that happens, and when is that time historically? Well, let's just get into the story first, right? Dig this, right? This is 41-7, right? Book of Eskra, 41-7. And Baal, from Baal and Ashtaroth fame, underboss of Osiris. He is also Heru, right? He is also Marduk, right? Also the third Asher, He is the Amun-Ra, right? The third Odin. He's also the third Zeus. These false gods can take upon many names, and in many countries at the very same time, the same false god using the same epithet. Just because the languages are different, they call him a different name. Right? So at the same time, he would have been called Horus, also Set. In Egypt, he would have been called, for instance, he would have been called Marduk at the same time, just in a different area. Right? In another area, they're calling him by his real name, Baal Hadad. You dig what I'm saying? So we talking about this ninja. Let me see. Where he at? Right here. Baal. This is from the 14th to 12th century, right at the end of the time we're talking about, 1100s BC. Right? So we know he there. Baal worship is readily being practiced in the area. We ain't even got to guess why, because here is an idol that they worship from the same time. 14th to 12th century is the 1300s to 1100 BC, and around 1150 to around 750 BC, you have the fall of this hot volcanic material coming out the sky called Eskra, and it literally scorches cities. It wipes them out and then buries them. Right? So we see the worship, and this is the time that they're talking about, right? From this time on Earth, around 1100s to around, or 1150 to around 750 BC is the Bronze Age collapse, or the beginning of the Bronze Age collapse, and the coming out of the Greek Dark Ages, right? So that's the time we're talking about historically, from about 1150 to 750, right? But we got to start in 11, but we're going to whittle it on down, because we're going to show you why the people are moving away from where they go. because they literally getting bombed out the sky. You dig what I'm saying? Let's go look at this real quick. All right, let me make sure everybody can see that. Okay, that's your boy Baal right there. Now let's go see. This is who talking, right? A false god, right? Now him and the guy Luamong, who goes on to be the guy who you call today Christ, right? The Christ of the Bible, all the Christ consciousness, all that Christ is this angel named Luamong, or the light bearer. Funny, he got the same meaning to his name as Lucifer. But this is the angel that Baal is in war with, right? And he's also at war with the faithists, of people who don't war. So anytime he run across them, they killing them. You dig what I'm talking about? So that's what's going on at these times during and prior to the Bronze Age collapse. Circa 1100 to about 700, or 1150 to about 750 BC. Right? Let's go see what the O got to say. Watch this. Now remember, it's Baal speaking, right? The faithists, the worshipers of Jehovah, or the Creator, are also my enemies. You see that? So this would have been at that time your so-called Vedics, right? You're practicing Zoroastrians, your Hotian of China, Confucians. This would have also been your so-called Israelites at that time. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm just naming a few of the peoples we would have known historically that was praisers of the Great Spirit at that time. The Baha'i, they in that area now, but I don't know if they would have been there exactly. But they the remnants of that that comes out of Persia. You dig what I'm saying? It says, Baal says, these are my enemies also. Anybody who rock with the Creator, you my enemy. Such mortals, right? This is Baal speaking. Such mortals shall be tortured and sawn in half. That was a specific punishment for believers in the Creator. So that goes to show you that when Isaiah, listen right here, 1168, notice that the prophet Isaiah was sawed in two. In those days, the persecutions against the faithists, the real Israelites in the Creator, were fearfully cruel. But one of them they definitely did, right, was saw people in half, right? And we see that happen to the real prophet Isaiah, right? And then the crazy part is this didn't even happen in the Middle East. It happened in Asia. That's crazy. Watch this, though. Such angels, right? This is still Baal speaking. Such angels shall be bound in hell, in knots in hell, right? And suffocated forever. I will have them know that who? Baal, Uncle Baal and them. Uncle Baal is the all highest God of heaven and earth. Now, he gonna war you into believing it. And look, and all the land of Arabia, Africa in the Middle East, Hellas, which is like Turkey, Persia, and Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and then Europe proper was like one great seat of anarchy and war. Let me show y'all. We are visual people. Let me give y'all a look. Now, this is a post-flood map of the world, right? And it's generally kind of the same, But if you notice, there's a lot of differences, right? A lot of differences in the world right now. Some of these places like this is England. It's still connected to Europe. So water levels are way lower. You dig what I'm talking about? Notice Turkey right here is still connected all the way to Europe. So this is the layout of the ancient continental legs. And if you notice, between each one of these is a mountain range. Right here is a mountain range. Right over there is a mountain range. This is the Himalayas going all the way up, going into the, what is them mountains up there? The Urals. Where continents touch, mountains rise up. This is why this place, Hellas or ancient Persia, and because right here, if you think about it, right here on this, damn near on this line right here, is Moscow, Russia. Right here. That'll be Moscow today. So this is a layout of the map. So when they give you these names, you can start understanding where they saying they warring at. In Hellas, see Hellas, in Europa, in Arabia, where you get the word Arab. This is one of the ancient cosmological names for Africa. This is where you get your word Arab. Arabia is the name. And this is northeast Arabia. And this is southern and western Arabia. The whole continent. But this is all part of it. Same thing. Right here. What's right here, y'all? Right here, a mountain range. Yep. What's right here? A mountain range. 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 You see, okay. You start to see it. You dig what I'm saying? But notice how different the map is, right? Notice how different the map is. Right? But we wanted to give you an idea of where they're talking about. Europa, look how big it is now. Way bigger than it is today. Hellas, right? Encompassing Persia, got some of Russia in it, Eastern Europe, the Black Sea would be right about here. The Caucasus would be right here. Right. Well, right here. Caucasus would be about right here. This would be early Turkey before it split. You dig what I'm saying? So it's just this is the layout of the post-flood map in Oahspe, just to give you an idea of what they're talking about. Right? Let's go back. So all of the land, Arabia, Hellas, and part of Europa was like one great seat of anarchy and war. Did you know that there has never been 100 straight years in the Eastern societies where there was no war? Did you know that? Right? Watch this, though. It says Luamong, who we go to know on to become Christ, right? Christ of the Christians, right? Luamong said, I do not come to bring peace, but war. I come to set nation against nation, people against people, man against man, for righteousness' sake. I will purify the earth with human blood. Sound awful familiar. I do not come to bring peace, but sword up. Anyways, right? But watch this. Christ says, aka Luamong says, I will not have a halfway peace. I will destroy my enemies, east and west, north and south, by the Holy Ghost. I have sworn it. Who you swearing on if you are the Holy Ghost? Let that sink in one. Right? By the Holy Ghost, if you Christ, who the hell is you? Who is you swearing on? You saying the Holy Ghost is different than yourself? Them strings on them tattered rags start to show real quick when Oahspe pop up. Watch this though. Now remember, this is Christ speaking, right? AKA Luamong. He says, and the kingdoms of Egypt, right? Which we're going to learn he already has control over at this time. This is pre-750 BC. People say, oh, it wasn't no Christian demon. Yeah, they wouldn't have been called Christians yet. Remember, he hasn't taken on the name Christ. He's still going by his real name, Luamong. But it is the exact same deity that we know today as Christ. Oahspe shows you why and how and when he took his name or his epithet, his title. Right? He says, I will not have a halfway peace. He said, and the kingdoms of, look, Egypt and Media and Armenia, right? First of all, we know where Egypt is at. Where is Media at? Right? Because he go to Phrygia, Argos, right? This is Greece. Scythia. This is southern Russia, Caucasus Mountain region. And Numidia. And all the regions of Arabia, right? Middle East and the continental Africa and the West shall know no peace till I have destroyed the worship of all gods but the Triunes, the Trinity. But watch this, because this is very key. Where is Media? So he's going to go on to take control of Media, right? He already got control of Egypt. He got control of Media. Where is Media? Right? Hold on. Let's look at this real quick. Where is Media? Right? This is Media. Let me blow it up. In that same region, the God Christ, right? Say these regions right here. Now, mind you, this is the Median homeland, right? But this is the empire all through Persia and up here into where the Assyrians and all them is. And they down here too in Iraq, northern Iraq and Syria, all through here. This is Media. The false god Christ say he already got control over it to go into war. Right? Right here is the western part of what they call Lydia. Right? This is the western part. This is where your Assyrians come from, right here. Right? Right? And really in Iraq. Right? From Iraq to Turkey. Right? From Iraq to Turkey, you get tons of Assyrians out of this area. Now that's going to be key. Watch this, because a deal is going to happen, right? But on earth, it's going to have the same thing. happened, and we're gonna be able to prove that historically. Watch this. Now he's saying he didn't already hold on, right? The kingdoms of Egypt and Media, right? Armenia, Phrygia. Phrygia is this region I just showed you. See this region right here up in Turkey? That's Phrygia. Right? So they coming out of this area. Everything he's saying is in this Persian, Medic, Assyrian area. Right? Now let's go back here. Watch this. Right? And Media. So now we know where Media is. Right? We know where Armenia is. Greece. We know where it is. Right? And Numidia. Do y'all know where Numidia is? Because we got Media and then we got Numidia. Numidia is northern Africa. This is like Tunisia West. Carthage, Tunisia, Morocco, all that north and western region of northern Africa is Numidia, right? We're going to know, right, that Christ is going, why we know he rules this area, and it's important that we let y'all know that he already running these areas under the name of God and Lord and whoop-de-wop and whatever name that they calling him at the time. But he is already ruling in this area. It's important to know that he in Media already, and that he already in Numidia. Why? Because Christ is going to leave. Luamong is going to leave his rulership in Egypt, and somebody else is going to come in. No fight.
Stop it.
Yup, stop. Watch this. Right? And it came to pass that there was no peace in those lands. Europe, the Mediterranean states, the Middle East, and Africa. All of it's cracking. Right? That there was no peace in any of those lands, nor was there system to the warfare, right? Or looking for any important results. So they was just warring the war. Right? We see this unending chain of war coming right out of the Greek Dark Ages. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Right? And like I told you, there hasn't been 100 years in the East ever where there was no fighting, no war. There ain't even been 50 years. Huh? Nor was there any system to the warfare or looking to any important result. Right? The Creator has said, let this stand as a testimony to coming generations. For they shall look back to those times and see that the wars raged without purpose, and on the part of any king, and that mortals were only instruments in the hands of angels who ruled over them. And it shall be testimony to them of what comes upon peoples who deny my person. For they shall compare the peace and rejoicing of my people, while they had no king, but kept my commandments, with those who put me away and tried to make themselves strong in kings and standing armies. Watch this. Now we look back in that time and we see Nothing but constant fighting, right? And, you know, they come in, fight, leave, fight. There's no, even when there's no reason to fight, they fight. Right? So, watch this. Watch this. It said Baal. Now, look, this is where it get dope. Watch this. Baal, right, the false god, established 2 more heavenly kingdoms. One over Jerusalem. Yes, that Jerusalem over there in the east. Right? And one above the Apennine Mountains near Roma. Is there such thing as the Apennine Mountains? Let's check this out real quick. Huh? Look at this. He said he made one, right, in Jerusalem. But then he had another one near the Apennine Mountains. Look, the Apennine Mountains is literally like a backbone running through Italy. And look at Rome is on the western side. Did y'all know also that in Italy it has literally 2 different climates? One on the western side, one on the eastern side. These are the Apennine Mountains that run, they're the backbone, right, of Rome. Italy. But it says that by this place, right, the Apennine Mountains, the false god Baal made a heaven near Rome. Right? Watch what it say again. I'll go back. Baal now established 2 more heavenly kingdoms. Where's the first one at? The first one is over, listen, Jerusalem. Remember, this is a spirit. It's over Jerusalem. Where's the other one? And one above the Apennine Mountains near Rome, right? First and foremost, there are really Apennine Mountains near Rome. Okay, you know. But this is where it gets real kind of detailed right here. And in the latter kingdom, in the Apennine one by Rome, right, which he called Arcola, or Arcoli, or Arcola. That's how you would say that. Right? How would you go about proving that? That's a crazy statement. You dig what I'm talking about? In and of itself, y'all trying to tell me that a God who is there, there's, you know, objective proof that this thing was going on and this worship was happening at this time, and that at this time, the God made a place over Rome and called it Arcola. How would you even go about even trying to prove that? You dig what I'm saying? Well, the first thing you would do is ask yourself a very logical question. Is there a place called Arcola in Rome or in Italy? Is there one there? Right? That would tend to lead credence to the narrative found in Oahspe, if there was actually a Arcola, Arcoli, whatever, in Rome. That's a very odd name. Rokoli. But, you know, through Anglicized words and all that, the ARK can easily be ARC. And, you know, when you say, like, when you use the vowel sounds over there, the vowels are different. So it's not A, E, I, O, U. It's A, E, I, O, U. So the I kind of sounds like A. Ah. You dig what I'm talking about? Eh or ah. So Arcola, right? So it would be amazing, first of all, to just find a place near the Apennine Mountains in Italy named Arcoli or anything like it. Boom. What's this? Y'all ever heard of the Arcoli? And look how they spell it. Arcoli. Historically also known as Arcola. Huh? In a province of Verona. At the beginning of the Apennine Mountains. There's a literal place on earth called Arcola or Arcoli. Why is it there? Huh? And the latter kingdom, which he called Arcoli, right? In Italy, he made an alliance with the Hindu or the Vindu gods that had escaped their own heavenly regions and fled to the mortal city of Rome. And near Athena, this is in Greece, right? He founded a sub-kingdom of 500 million angels, right? So the simple fact that, that there is an Arcola, right? Or Arcoli, a literal one there, lends credence to the story. Watch this though. How do they know that the Indian gods came to Rome? They see the manifestation of these gods, the same ones of the Jains and of the Hindus, right? At the time of major collapse of different societies, like one of them we're going to get into, we're going to prove that these people are Buddhist, practicing Hinduism and Zoroastrian or Zarathustrianism. Please. Right? And because they practice this type of religion, they take on a type of name that they carried into the land that they migrated into Africa into. Their name are the Kushan, right? The Kushan people migrate into Africa, but they migrate into Africa at a time prior than they take rule in Egypt. Hold on. Hey. Hold on 1 second, Joe. Hold on. All right, now dig this, right? He said he founded an angel, a kingdom of angels, 500 million angels near Athens, right? Or the city of Athena. And he had made alliance with gods that had escaped also, right? Now in Arcoli, he made a bond with the Hindu gods or the Buddhist gods. And in Greece, he made a deal with an alliance with the Brahmin gods, who are being defeated by the false god Brahma. You know, they went to war against him. His own people went to war against him as always. Buddhist people went to war against him. The ones that are getting kicked out are running to Baal. And he putting ones in certain areas and other ones in other areas, and they're taking on personifications of older deities, right? And taking on multiple various names, as in explained in Oahspe. One of these deities take up on multiple names, right? He'll be Vulcan and Hephaestus, just depending on are you speaking in Greek or Latin, right? You got to basically, this is how you get the template for the Roman gods and the Greek gods being exactly the same, right? What history has already proven, though, is a whole nother lesson, is that the gods from India, right, end up in Rome, praised as gods, same God, same attributes, same look, same everything, just with a more Romanized or Greek name. This has already been proven, right? Oahspe is the only book in the world that lets you know how they got there, right? Quickly, right? Just to go why they there, right? He made an alliance with the Vindu gods, the gods of the Hindus, right? That had escaped from their own heavenly regions in Vindu in India. Remember this place? Remember we just showed this map? This is Vindu, right? All southern Asia and modern day India up into Persia and all out here into the Southeast Islands. You dig what I'm talking about? Oceania and Melanesia and all that. All what they're saying is, and Oahspe breaks down that these people are generally the same, huh? All the way from Persia, all the way down into the islands. You dig what I'm talking about? And this would be anciently also your land of Shem. It run up here though, like this, boom. Because down here is still China, right? China's down here, and then it go up into Russia. But all this is all the stands, the Uzbekistans, the Kazakhstans, the Irans, the Pakistans, they all over here. Right? This is your Hindu Kush Mountains. This is your Himalayas. This is your Urals. This is your Zagros, your Zagros Mountains. So in between these three major lands, right? The land in between the three major lands, Hellas, right, is the most mountainous place on the earth. Still to this day. Why? Because you got the biggest ones right here where the continents touch. Right? So, you know, let's go look back. They had to what? Escape from India, right? They had to escape from their own regions or they was gonna get thrown in hells and captured. Why? Right? Now, and they fled to the mortal city of Roma. Who got Roma? Baal. We just seen he already set up a city up there, right? The heaven is called Arcula. And we look on earth and there's really an Arcula in Italy, right? And he found it near Athena or Athens. This is Greece. He founded a sub-kingdom, 500 million angels, right? And made an alliance with the gods that escaped the Brahmin kingdoms, right? These is your Indian, Mongoloid type people. You know, remember Buddha was in one place, Brahma was in another, in Asia. And one was in India, one was in Asia. So he cut deals with, and we see these, it's already proven by history that we find the gods of Asia and the gods of India in Rome and Greece during these times. How did they get there? Oahspe is showing you how. Now, this is where it gets dumb interesting. Watch this. In this emergency, Luamong, the false Christ, the triune God of the Holy Ghost, beheld with fear and trembling his formidable enemy Baal. Right? So we got, here go the players. Baal, right? Against Luamong, who y'all know is Christ. Now, mind you, this is before he takes the title of Christ and creates a physical representation of himself. But even before this, to show you that same dominant spirit had been in Egypt. It had been there for hundreds of years, right? Except a little space of time where he moves out purposely, allows his brother Triune to come in, a whole different God with a whole different people, praising a whole different thing, and they rule it for only 100 years. Huh? Ain't no way you can prove that in real time, Cosmon. But what I want to show you is hundreds of years before there was a Jesus, they already had a character in Egypt, that fit the same ideology, and they even look the same. Look at Serapis. The ideology of putting Apis and Osiris together, Serapis, or the physical representation of the god on earth, why he looked just like Jehovah. And why is Jehovah, and aka Christ, this is Christ, Luamong, why he scared of this nigga? So couldn't nothing beat the biblical God. Let's see. Let's go see what he's saying. Watch this. In this emergency, Luamong, the false God Christ, the triune God of the Holy Ghost, beheld with fear and trembling his formidable enemy Baal. And so he decided, to send to who for assistance? Who did he send to, y'all? If y'all see that it say he sent to Buddha for assistance, right? So we know if you sent to Buddha, the people that's coming is Buddhists, correct? If y'all agree with that, if I send for, you know, the Mexicans, right? I'm asking the Mexican people for some help. Mexican people, I need some help. They say, we gonna help you. I expect that the people who come, right, to be Mexicans, right? See, but the whole thing is about praising the God. So it don't even matter what color you is. Don't matter what nationality is. It just matter, nigga, is you giving me my 10% and my motherfucking pound of flesh. That's all I want about you. Huh? Or else you going to hell, Cosmon. You going to hell. So if y'all see that, and that makes sense to you, that if I'm asking Buddha for help, that Buddhists are going to come help me. If that makes sense to you, hit me with a vortex in the chat. Watch this. Let's keep going. So now Christ of the Bible, the God of the Bible, especially of the New Testament, right? The God of the New Testament, right? And who inspired Israel to write. So really, he the God of both, right? He the God of the Bible, right? He asked his homeboy, one of the Trinity. Remember, there's a Trinity. It's Christ, Buddha, and Brahma, also known as Luamong, Inochisa, and Kabbalactus, right? So he called to, this is why they call it a triune, a three-way God, because it's three false gods that got together and hooked up. They are your Trinity. They call themselves the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But didn't he just swear to the Holy Ghost? So that means the Holy Ghost got more authority than you. Uh-oh, that's a problem when you're supposed to be the same thing. And then you got to ask yourself, how is it a trinity of the Christians, a trinity of the Buddhists, and a trinity of the Brahmins? How is that? How is that even possible? There's only supposed to be one triune anywhere. But now you got them in the exact same places that Oahspe is exposing this. Y'all think that's coincidence? Look, he was scared of the nigga ball kicking tail. So the false Christ of the Bible asked his brother, Buddha, his homeboy, for assistance. Right? And this is what he said. Watch this. To the triune, the Holy Buddha, son of the Holy Ghost. Huh? Buddha is the son of the Holy Ghost. Buddha means most high knowledge. Can't be the son of nothing. How you the son of the Holy Ghost when you supposed to be the Holy Ghost? Buddha got a son, Brahma got a son, Christ got a son. And they all supposed to be the same thing. But now the omnipotent, all-powerful God needs some help from his brother. Ain't that something? But y'all still gonna praise him. Watch this. To the triune, the Holy Buddha, son of the Holy Ghost, greeting in love and majesty. He sent him a letter. Sent his brother a text. By the power of the triunes, we are sworn to each other to establish the Holy Ghost in heaven and earth. Huh? This is why they're praising the Holy Ghost. This is why they're killing for it too. By what? By which confederacy we three gods are powerful above all other gods. I thought there was only one God. Or I thought the three gods were in one. Now you find out that there's two more gods on side of this one, and they're broken into three too. Huh? Watch this. Now behold, watch this. This is key. Now behold, Baal, the most fiendish of all gods, wages war against our holy doctrines in all regions of the heavenly kingdoms and on my dominions on earth. So also, remember, he told you where his earthly dominions is. Media, New Media, but keep Media in mind. Right? But my forces in heaven and earth need reinforcement. What? Watch this. And I come to you. Christ coming to Buddha, asking for a favor. Watch this. And I come to you, Buddha, according to our original compact. The original compact today is called the Trinity. These three niggas took it upon themselves to dupe men all together in their three areas of the world: Africa, India, and Asia. Right? He said, I come according to our original compact, asking you for 1 billion, listen, 1 billion warrior angels. By messengers, Luamong sent this to Buddha, who answered him as follows. Watch how Buddha played. Right? Watch how Buddha played. It is said, this how Buddha answered it. He said, I need some help, cuz. You dig what I'm saying? Send them goons through here. You dig what I'm talking about? This is what Buddha said. It is said that great trials are the making of angels and mortals. Oof. I need my host for my own purposes, nigga. Nevertheless, if you will nevertheless, if you will cede Egypt to me, that means give it to me, right? If you will give Egypt to me, you shall have them, that army you asking for the space of 100 years. So Christ, one of the triune gods, right, aka Luamong, asks Buddha, look, I need some help, cuz. Send them niggas through here, man. You know what I mean? These boys, ball pushing a cold game. He a dog. You dig what I'm talking about? He a dog. And he's still up under the Balkan God rules. He's still killing men and drinking blood and, sacrificing and doing all this crazy stuff. I need some help. Send them niggas through here. And he was like, look, man. You dig what I'm talking about? Listen, that sounds like an angel and a mortal problem. I thought you was supposed to be a god. Ooh. That's how he played him. That's basically what he said right here. It is said that great trials are the making of angels and mortals. I thought you was supposed to be a god. So look how Buddha played it. He said, I need my host for my own purpose. What you mean? But if you sell me that car, I'll let you roll these niggas for a minute. You dig what I'm saying? I had a goons protect you. So he made Christ check in, right? Buddha made Christ just check in. I want y'all to, if y'all see that Buddha made Christ check in. And now for repayment, to get these billion warrior angels, you gotta give me Egypt. Y'all see that, right? Y'all see that? Hit me with a vortex in the chat, right? Hit me with a vortex in the chat. He said, I need my host for my own purposes. Nevertheless, but that's what he hit. But if you give Egypt, cede Egypt, hand Egypt over to me, you will have the army you asked for the space of 100 years. So right there, we got to ask a question. Has there been a time, first of all, that a kingdom came through in Egypt This would have been around 24th, 25th, 26th dynasty period, right? This would have been in New Kingdom, right? From a whole nother place with a whole nother spiritual practice. But when they come in, they can't war, right? Because remember, you got to seed it to me, nigga. How you going to war with me and ask me for some angels, right? So I'm going to just walk into Egypt and take over. Do we see that play out historically, though? The answer is yes. Watch this. We're going to go read a little more, though. Now, insulting as this proposal was, Luamong, the false Christ, was obliged to accede to it or have his kingdom destroyed by Baal, right? Now, accordingly, such an alliance was entered into. What alliance? That if you cede Egypt to me, I'll give you these warrior angels for 100 years. So accordingly, the alliance was entered into, and Luamong, what? He removed his heavenly city, Oahspe, and he moved it where? Westward. So it's already in Egypt. He moved it west, right? Where? What's west of Egypt? He just told you. Watch this. He just told you. Right here. Numidia. That's west of Egypt. This is why he moved there, because he already ran it. So this is why Media is important, because this goes to show that he ran this region too. Watch this. Let me go back down. Right. Accordingly, such an alliance was entered into, and Luamong removed his heavenly city, Oahspe, westward, and cast it over where? Numidia. This is Northern Africa. And immediately after that, what? Immediately, Buddha established a heavenly kingdom in Egypt. Listen, this sounds fantastical. This shit sound crazy. Buddha just kicked Christ up out of Egypt. Huh? He bought his car for an 8-ball. Buddha just bought Christ's car for an 8-ball. He driving around in his whip right now. So Buddha established a heavenly kingdom in Egypt and called it Solonian, giving its, listen, this is key too, giving its management, this heavenly kingdom of Buddhas in Egypt, right? Its management, he gave into the keeping of who? Thoth. No, it's not the Thoth of Osiris's time. This is thousands of years later, right? As a matter of fact, that Thoth, aka Hermes, is on the side of Baal, right? But this is another one, Thoth, the Persian, right? An angel, so named, why they call him Thoth, right? Is because he was cunning like a fox. He was smart, right? And look, And with these additional forces, Luamong now renewed the assault on Baal on every side, even more violently in his heavenly places than on earth. Right? And look, and it came to pass, listen, it came to pass that Luamong routed Baal from his heavenly kingdom and from his sub-kingdoms also. But he did not capture him nor subdue him. And the angels of Luamong, or the false god Christ, obtained Jerusalem and Athens, as well as 200 small cities with oracle houses and temples also. And Luamong's warrior angels took possession of them so they could answer the oracles, magicians, and priests in their own way. Right? Now watch this. Got to keep reading, then we're going to go back and do some proving. Watch this. Baal still maintained an army of 3 billion warrior angels, and he established himself in the city of Roma or hiatus. That is Byzantium. Right? But used most of his army as rambling marauders. This same city, Byzantium, is later on called Constantinople and is now called Istanbul. Do you know why Constantinople or Byzantium, right, is so important? Anybody know why it's so important? Let me show y'all why it's so important. Let me show y'all why it's so important. Let me share this with you. See this? Hold on, watch out. Y'all notice anything? Here go Istanbul. Right here. Right? I'll zoom in a little more. Right? This is Turkey. Watch. Hold on. This is Turkey. Right? You go to Middle East and Syria and all that area that they was calling the Medes, all up in here. All that area that they was calling the Mede area, right? You see all that right up in here. So they in northern Iraq, where Babylon, all this stuff is, right? That's key, right? Why that's key is because the people who should come back into Egypt after leaving Egypt, right, should be from this area, because they're going to be worshipers of Christ. Watch this. Right? But what's so important about Istanbul? Can anybody see what's so important about it? I'll leave it. Hold on, I'll blow it up one more time. I'll leave it just like that. Can anybody see what's so important about it? What's so important about this city? It is the only land bridge, listen, into Egypt. Into Europe. It's the only land bridge into Hellas. All right, all this. Remember, we just watched that. The Moscow way up here. Right? So we seeing that land that we were talking about right here. Unless you're going all the way around to try to get to Greece, right? The importance of having Istanbul or hiatus is that it's the only land bridge into Europe. Y'all see that? To get into Europe, you either got to get in a boat. Look, you got to get in a boat. You got to get in a boat. or you got to go all the way up here, all the way around, and then come down if you wanted to get into Greece. The only other way to do it, the straight route, is through Istanbul. Interesting, it's still there today, right? And is the place where who goes to conquer there? Christ goes on to when the name was Hyades in Byzantium. It is through the defeat of the other half of the Roman Empire when Maximentius goes against Constantine, and Constantine under the auspices of Christ, and Maxentius is under the auspices of the old god Baal, right? They went head up at the Battle of Milvian Bridge. At that battle of Milvian Bridge, 312 AD, Baal ended up being caught and thrown in a hell. And from that time, the name Byzantium was changed and it became Christian, and they called it after Constantine, Constantinople. That happened after. That happened after the Battle of Milvian Bridge. 1 second, y'all. Hold on. So it's not till Baal loses control of Byzantium at the Battle of Milvian Bridge that Constantine and Christ come in, and this is a pivotal time in history. Battle of Milvian Bridge, where Christianity becomes the dominant religion in Europe and the Middle East too. You dig what I'm talking about? And during that time, Byzantium takes the name Constantinople, right? But some interesting things were stated. He said he would give him these angels for 100 years. Has there ever been a people who came into Egypt, right, from 100 years, for 100 years, and ruled it, and came in pretty much with really no issue, right? Consolidating it wasn't like a war, right? Has that ever happened in history in Egypt? Yes. Yes, it's happened. It's called the Kushite Kingdom. Watch this. Let me blow it up a little bit. Yes. All right. Right at the end of the Bronze Age collapse and the Greek Dark Ages, we see a people who have been moving west since prior to the Bronze Age collapse and the destructions of their cities. They've been moving west, right? That is known throughout history also. Hold on, let me show y'all. let me show y'all. Here we go. That this migration of Western Semitic peoples had started hundreds of years before, right? Because the climate had been changing. Remember, they got a stupid large society called Kushan. It's west or east of Susa. So basically, modern day Pakistan, northern India, where it would be Persia too at its greatest extent. You dig what I'm talking about? It would be primarily centered east of the Zagros Mountains. But to show you that these people have been moving from the east to the west, they have been doing this over hundreds of years, right? So when we see a society fall, right, and then another one with the same name, same attributes pop up, but the connection can't be made, even though they got a similar name. The way that you would have to prove that who is through their actions, their characters, and their deeds. And one of the major things of their culture that they practice, right, and why they have the name Kush, right, is because it is a Zoroastrian or Zarathustrian practice. It's older than Hindu, right? They don't know when they tie Zoroaster to Zarathustra, but that's not even the same person. You dig what I'm talking about? But when the Zoroastrian religion comes out, you dig what I'm talking about? Many of the Kushan people are already practicing in it. And then Oahspe tells us that that's a far older practice, that even your boy Abraham was a Zarathustrian, right? A lot of people say, well, what was Abraham an Israelite? No. Abraham was a Zarathustrian. But in the same sense, they're the same thing. Same thing. Right? But because they all praise the Great Spirit. They don't praise no God. Right? So this goes to show that Western Semitic people had been present in Egypt for centuries before that, and had moved and start moving in mass in between 1200 and 1100 BC. Well, 1150 BC is the true start of the Bronze Age collapse. Maybe this is why they're moving, because their cities were unattainable. They weren't livable anymore. They were being literally buried, bombed from above by material, smashed by super storms. Literally lit on fire and buried naturally, right? This is why they always think Göbekli Tepe, they buried the city on purpose. Nobody does all that work and then buries the city on purpose. No, the city got buried by a natural calamity. Same thing that happened to the Harappan society or the Kushan society in Mohenjo-Daro, right? But this goes to show that these people have been moving, right, from this area for hundreds of years prior to the time that we're speaking of, circa 750-ish, right? So we got these people from the Kushan society or empire, and look at where it is. Look at where it is. This is India, right above India. This is also all the way out here down into by Australia is all Shem. All this, India on this side of the mountain, all up here, all over here into Iran, all over there, all in the mountains, all that's Shem. This is where the Negro of the East, the black man and the Asiatic black man, he comes from these areas, the mountainous regions of the East. Not the American Negro, but the Negro of the East. Right? Just to dumb it down real quick. Right? The Aboriginal Negro of the East comes from Persia. He goes on to produce your Phoenicians. These go on to produce your Israelites. The Phoenicians aren't even from Africa. They migrated to it. As a matter of fact, to prove that they migrated there, this is the most mountainous region in the world, right? You know what Phoenician means? Phoenician means of the mountains, right? So, yes, we got a people, right, called the Kushites who come into Egypt and just start ruling. Watch this. Kushite kingdom. The Kushite kings ruled Egypt. The Kushite king Kashta arrived in Egypt amid political disarray to claim the office of pharaoh. Apparently at Thebes and apparently peacefully. How somebody else, first of all, they had been in Sudan hundreds of years by now. They had migrated below, and these is in the Meroitic tales and the tales of the Nubians down that way, that they migrated from the east. Right? This is in the Kushite story, right? So they had been in lower Egypt, in Nubia, I guess, the Sudan, however you say it today, right? They had already been there at least since the 1200s. But now we know why they moved, because they was getting bombed out by Escra, right? Now, and remember, they gotta move in peacefully. Why? Because we see Christ and Buddha had to cut a deal. Accordingly, such alliance, right, was entered into. So Luamong removed his heavenly kingdom, Hapsindi, and cast it over Numidia. And immediately after that, Buddha established a heavenly kingdom in Egypt, giving its management into keeping of Thoth, a Persian, right, who an angel, so named. Why they call him Thoth? Because he was cunning like a fox. Right? So immediately, wasn't no war. Immediately, Buddha set up a kingdom in heaven. How does what does that representation look like upon earth historically? The Kushite kings in the same year, right? We talking about 750-ish BC, right? 400 years of Escra, great destruction all across the world. Then we come up out of the Dark Greek ages and enter into the Iron Era from the end in the fall of the Bronze Age collapse, right? So we got Kushite king arrives in Egypt and just took over peacefully. Huh? How? Now you know why. Huh? Because the false god Christ of the Bible needed some help. He was paired up against a savvy, a nigga who was thousands of years older than him and had been on earth macking. You did what I'm talking about since at least 3953 BC. Ball had like a 4,000 plus year run. That's what people don't know. Remember, he is Marduk of Sumer. So way before Egypt existed, you did what I'm talking about. He was already getting his pub. Now look, Kashta, he was the first of the Nubian line of kings who ruled Egypt's what? 25th dynasty. Didn't I tell y'all? New kingdom, 25th dynasty. They're starting off with a brand new people from somewhere else. But remember, Buddha is moving these people in. Uh-oh. This why the names kind of, I knew the mirror with it, and the language and all that shit looked like Sanskrit. Right? But watch this. He was the first of the Nubian line of kings and ruled as the Egypt's 25th dynasty from what? 747 to 650. What? What is that? That's a couple years short of 100 years. So what if it's a couple more years on this side and a couple more years on this side? You make your 100 years up right here. They got 100-year rule in. Right when Oahspe is saying that a deal between Christ and Buddha was struck if he would just cede. Remember, cede means give up. Hand it over. No fighting. Give me Egypt for 100 years. I'll give you whatchamacallit back. Now remember, he moved his heaven over Numidia. Right? Christ moved his heaven over Numidia. We see a people historically literally go in there. Pai, the following king, carried the conquest of Egypt to the Nile Delta, responding dramatically to a threat of combination of powerful dynasties to the north. He created an empire that stretched from the Sixth Cataract to the Mediterranean Sea. That's damn near all of it. Now watch this. Now the Kushite rulers presented themselves as pharaohs, even though they wasn't. We know that they Buddhists, right? Hit me with a 1 in the chat if you know that these are Buddhists. Right? The people who come in at the exact same time Buddha's supposed to be sending people to set up a kingdom, the whole kingdom switches on earth. Think that's by coincidence? No. But watch this. We still got to prove that these niggas was practicing some type of Buddhism. Right? Watch this. Looking back, Egypt's earth, watch this. The Kushites presented themselves as pharaohs who could return Egypt to its former glory. Looking back at Egypt's earlier great ages for models to develop. Kushite pharaohs built and restored many monuments in Egypt and Nubia. Right? Representations, especially of the pharaohs, show a new synthesis of Nubian and Egyptian forms with the introduction of elements such as Nubian facial features and Kushite royal regalia, including the cap surmounted with 2 sacred serpents that replaced the Egyptian white crown. Now watch this. So remember, they saying that they are returning to a former glory by looking back at Egypt, and these Kushite rulers are presenting themselves as pharaohs. So that's saying that they are going back to act like the ancient kings and rulers and pharaohs of Egypt. So that means they would be reviving old practices. Why that matters is because, hold on, first of all, you dig what I'm talking about? Watch this, hold on. Watch this. The Meroitic kings ruled in Egypt as part of the kingdom's Kush 25 dynasty and ruled over Egypt, especially spanned, look, roughly 100 years. After losing control of Egypt to who? Who did they lose? They didn't fight to lose it. They didn't fight. They didn't fight to get it. They didn't fight to lose it either. Who came and just took it? The Assyrians. Remember, the Assyrians are from, where is Assyria? It's in the Media area. This is why I told you media is going to be so important, right? Because these are the people who come in and take over Egypt, right? And kick out the Nubian kings, and the Nubian kings keep on doing their thing anyway. They just keep rocking and rolling, just so it really wasn't no major beef. How you just take over a rulership with no beef and you leave with no beef? As a matter of fact, you just go south. Now watch this. After losing control of Egypt to the Assyrians, how the Kushite rulers withdrew to their homeland in Nubia, their new homeland where they migrated to. They've been there a couple hundred years now, right? Their capital eventually shifted to where? Meroe. That's key, right? So we got these Kushites in Meroe, and we got these Kushites in Egypt, and they should, and remember, they're Buddhist. Watch this. Can you prove that, Cosmo? Giving rise to the Meroitic period, right? Right? Can you prove that? I ain't got to. Science has already done it for me. The historical studies has already done for me. Watch this. Buddhism in ancient Egypt, and where? Meroe. How did they become Buddhists? Because they have been migrating there since the Bronze Age collapsed. They come from the east. They come up out of the great Kushan dynasty, right? One of the greatest dynasties over that way is Harappa, or called today the city Mohenjo-Daro. Right? Let me see if I got a picture of Mohenjo-Daro. Here go Mohenjo-Daro right here. Right? Let me go back up. This is Mohenjo-Daro. It's a photo of the Indus Valley civilization, right? In what is now the Singh province of Pakistan. North, didn't I tell y'all? North of India. The settlement was abandoned in the 19th century BC, but obviously it was relived in, right? Because guess who comes back and rebuilds? The Kushan. You dig what I'm talking about? They come back and rebuild. Hold on. Whoa. Where am I at? Hold on. Okay. All right. Now I want you to notice where they at. You see the Harappa society? You see these three rivers coming together and all that stuff? Right up in here. And in the crook of India. In northern India. Y'all see that? Pakistan, Mohenjo-Daro. We're talking about this. This is all a major civilization that is now buried. And before it was buried, it was vaporized. And then buried under 60, 70, 80 feet of earth that don't nobody even know how it got there. But they got massive pyramids at Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, all these places. You can see them, right? And this is contemporary with Sumer. This is contemporary with Egypt. You dig what I'm talking about? How did it get buried? And why did these people move up out of this region, right? We know that this is proven. Why did they move up out of this region starting in between 12 to 1100? Because this is one of the regions that get bombed and hit with escrow, right? A natural phenomenon that happens. It just happens. But it wipes stuff out. And then it buries it, right? This is how them great stone carved places that are used to be temples and mountains and all that. This is how they're blown to bits and buried, right? Just like we see at Mohenjo-Daro, right? What blows this apart? Ooh, and mind you, when they found this, it was all buried. So you got to bury it in material, and then look, this is rock now, right? But it's obviously made out of brick, right? It's made out of clay, sand. You dig what I'm talking about? How is it rock now? Only way to do that is to hit it with massive amounts of heat. These are rocks, right? No longer just bricks. They've been heated till they are as hard as rocks. Right? So this is where we at, right here at Mohenjo-Daro. Right? Because, like they said, these people who come from that region, who call themselves Kushan, are moving into Egypt. Did Buddhism exist in Upper Egypt and in the Lower Moretic Empire? The answer appears to be yes. It was in Memphis, right? Right where they said it would be, that English Egyptology and archaeologist W.M. Flanders Petrie found evidence of a Buddhist colony in Africa during the exact time that the Meroitic Society or the Kushite kings are ruling in Egypt, that they just came in and took over, no fighting. And also they left with no fighting. I hope y'all don't know that that's how it goes on. That is definitely not how transitions of power happen. All right. And then why are they there? Right? If Oahspe wasn't hitting like a ton of bricks, why are they there? Why can we prove them historically? And why didn't y'all know that they was Buddhists? Now it makes sense. Huh? But why do they call these people? Hold on. Let me go back. Why do they call these people Kush? Why do they call them Kush and Kushan? Huh? Let me see. Right? That's because of their religious practicing. Right? Why are they called Kushan? They are of the Kush people, the Persian people, right? The Negroes of the East, not the Africans. The niggas, but not Africans, right? They are called the Kushite. Why? Because the Kushite is part of Zoroastrianism. What is the Kushite? The Kushite is a sacred cord and is a central symbol of Zoroastrian religious identity and commitment, worn over a white undershirt called a sidra. It represents the initiate's acceptance of what? The faith's core principles, which are what? Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. That's a faithist. That is the Zoroastrian practice. This is what Abraham would have practiced. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Right? And let me show you also. Right? The sashes. Right? The sashes for the Kushite, for the Kushite. You dig what I'm talking about? This is why they called the people of Kushan Kushite, because they were practitioners of Zarathustrian religion. See the white garb and robe? This string tied in the front and the back, right? That is a Kushite. Practice by the people of Kushan. Let me see. Yup. By the people of the Kushan Empire. Now remember, right where we was at, I was just showing you that little bend in the corner right here in India. Right? Look, it's in northern India. Here we go. That Mohenjo-daro, all that stuff right here. Harappa up here. Taxila is already in modern day Pakistan. So all that stuff that we was just looking at, and where is it at? 1 second. We was just looking at it. Here you go. Right? It's right here. Same region. You can see the whatchamacallit coming down off the rivers, and then it splits into three. Right? Harappa, the two most famous, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, are all in this area. Northern India, Pakistan. Right? And we see the same thing. Where we at? Here. Harappa would be right here. Mohenjo-daro would be down here. They're in the Kushan Empire. So we know these people are called Kush. Well, we know they cities also burn. But then we find them south of Egypt, and then they come into Egypt for 100 years exactly. Right? And they practice in Buddhism. Right? That's just known. That's what's found in Egypt. But one tie, right? One more tie that would throw this thing over the top. Now we know why they call Kushite too. Why the whole kingdom is called Kushan. Right? Hold on 1 second. Right? We know that the people migrated there, and they say they migrated there. Now, but one thing, it says that these Kushites, right, was presenting themselves as pharaohs, and that they start reiterating up the old practices, right? But one of the things it says right here is that the management of this new kingdom in Egypt, being ran by the Kushites now, right, was given to a man named Thoth, an angel, right? Now, one thing that would go on to prove, because mind you, at this time, 700, 600s BC, ain't no Thoth worship. That type of worship had been done with. We did Amen, Ra, Aten, right? And now they coming back with the old way, right? But in the heavens, it's being ran by a god named Thoth, an angel, right? One thing that we could seal it in with is if at the time we find that the Kushites were actually praising Thoth, and a rebirth of Thoth worship came at the time of this 100-year period, to where these Buddhist worshipers now in Africa have become kings. Huh? How even know Oahspe even know this? That's one. But one way we could know that, right? Right, is if they got some type of like religious revival during this time. Because remember, it wasn't being praised there before, right? All that had stopped. And then there's a whole new Thoth. And then, so we should see in real time Thoth worship pop back up. Right? You dig what I'm talking about? So, watch this. Was there a revival of Thoth worship in Egypt during the Cushitic times? Right? Under a Buddhist god? Watch this. Yes. How about that? Right? During the Kushite rulership in Egypt, was worship of Thoth revived. Watch this. Yes. During the Kushite Nubian rule of Egypt, particularly the 25th dynasty, the worship of Thoth was not only maintained, but flourished as a part of a deliberate cultural and religious revival. Why did that happen? Because the Kushite pharaohs saw themselves as restorers of traditional Egyptian culture after a period of instability and foreign influence. Right? They felt like they was doing the right thing. But in fact, they're worshiping Buddha under a different name. But how is it possible that Thoth worship pop up in this 100 years as a revival at the same time Oahspe say that Thoth, a god, pop up in this 100-year article time and is running Egypt? A revival of Thoth just so happens to just pop up at the same time? Huh? If y'all see that this either gotta be true, first of all, how do Oahspe know? If it's not true, how I know? You think JBN knew the Kushites of Africa were practicing Buddhist? You didn't know. So how would he know? Nobody knew. You dig what I'm saying? That's the dope part. Right? But after Oahspe already tell you it happened 30, 40 years later, they end up finding exactly what was going on. But remember, right? We was talking about Midian. Right? We see that the Thoth worship, we see that historically, right? We see that they Buddha worshipers historically, right? This ain't what I'm just saying. Now we know why they was there, why the Kushites came in without a war, and why they left out without a war. Huh? Why? Because they was cutting the deal. Huh? But look, this is the part right here that we gotta that we get historically that we got to look at. Right? Hold on one second. Let me find this real quick. One second.
Is she your favorite? My favorite too.
Now watch this. I want to show y'all this. Now, this is the show, go to show y'all that it's Christ coming back to take over Egypt. This is why it wasn't no fight. But we got to know that the people who Christ sent come from an area that he already run. Watch this. The Kushite rule of Egypt ended in 656 BC when the Nubians withdrew. They didn't fight their way out. They just got up out of there. All right, dog, we gone. Huh? They just withdrew to their homeland in the face of the overwhelming Assyrian invasions. Right? But look, they didn't come down there and come messing with them. If they was so worried about the Kushite kings, they'd have went down the mirror way and smashed them. But they didn't. The Kushites, they keep running they kingdom for a long, long time. Hundreds and hundreds of years. Why wasn't it a fight to get in? Why wasn't it a fight to get out? Because it was a deal. Right? And watch this. The Assyrians, right? Hold on, let me show you. Let me go back. The Assyrians, let me show you. The Assyrians are from the land of Media. Let me show y'all again where Media is. This is Media. Assyria is right here. Northern Babylon. Right here. In the Median kingdom. At the time, look, that the Medes is running it. Right? Running this area. The Assyrians are right here. In northern Iraq and Babylon. Babylon is up here. Right? It's like right here. Where it say Ecbatana and all that, it's like right here. It's where Babylon is. You dig what I'm saying? And the Assyrians are from this area. Basically, they from basically Busay or Ecbatana. You dig what I'm talking about? All the way up in the Phrygia. The Syrians are from this region. Right? This is where the Assyrians are from. I just wanted to show y'all so y'all can get that and understand that this is in the Mede area. At the same time, these are the people who gonna come push the Kushites out without a war. You pushing them without pushing them. How? Right? Oahspe say, and media, right? And none of these places gonna know. So watch this. Let me show y'all who come in there and take over. 1 second. What I do with it? So we know the Assyrians came in there and smashed them, right? But Assyria was under Medic rule at the time. Hold on. Where's my... Hold on. Okay. Let's get into these Assyrians, right? They always talk about the Assyrian captivity and all that. You dig what I'm talking about? Well, did y'all know that these was inspired by the God of the Bible, aka Christ? Huh? As Nubian pharaohs of the 25th dynasty consolidated their power over Egypt, they also tried to expand their influence further afield. In 701, Taharka, a Nubian prince, led an army assault against Hezekiah. Led an army to assist Hezekiah, the king of Judah, against the Assyrian forces besieging Jerusalem. The Assyrians were driven back, but Egypt had made a dangerous enemy, right? Taharka came pharaoh in 690. He restored and expanded Egypt's temples and monuments, but meanwhile, the Assyrian king Esarhaddon, right? Esarhaddon marshaled his forces and invaded Egypt in 674. Despite costly campaign, Taharka defeated Esarhaddon, inflicting one of Assyria's worst losses. But Esarhaddon regrouped and invaded again in 71. With the larger force, this time Assyrians won and seized control of Memphis and much of Lower Egypt. Taharka fled south, but his family was captured and deported to Assyria. Taharka retook Memphis in 669. And instigated revolts in Lower Egypt. After Esarhaddon's death the following year, his son Ashurbanipal, right? Everybody know Ashurbanipal, defeated the Egyptians in 667 and forced Taharka to retreat to Thebes. Ashurbanipal sacked several cities before installing who? Necho, the first of the Sais or Assyrian vassals to the city, right? That's Necho. Huh? Show you that the Assyrians was niggas too. They just wasn't Africans. Huh? Now, after Taharka's death in 664, his son Tantamani continued to resist the Assyrians. Hey! Hold on. Dude, all that barking, bro. Chill out. During one of Tantamani's campaigns, Nico I was killed, and his son Samtik I retreated to Assyria. Tantamani retook most of Egypt. However, Ashurbanipal and the Assyrians returned with a huge army, backed up by Samtik's forces. Two armies clashed north of Memphis, and the Assyrians victorious. The battle effectively ended Nubian control in Egypt. Ashurbanipal then led the brutal sack of Thebes, plundering the city and deporting many of its citizens. Samtik founded the 26th dynasty and eventually reunited Egypt in approximately 656 BC. Or roughly 100 years after they had took to power. But out of them superpowers come the Achaemenids, the Persians. Why the Persians are so important? Because remember, in the story being told, it is the false god Christ. It's Christ who uses the Persian Medes, right? Who uses the Persian Medes to go on and conquer, right? Judea and all that. Their own God did it to them. How we know? Because doesn't Christ turn around and use Cyrus as his Messiah and call Cyrus the Persian Achaemenid, descendant of the Medes, Don't they go through slavery under the Medes and the Persians? Well, this is why Christ would use, aka Luamong, would use these Persian people at this time as his vassals to come back and take control of the area that he once had, now known as Egypt. This is why he sent Persians. This is why Cyrus was used. Why? Because they were all up under the auspices of a false god. It's not till a little bit after this time to where maybe 100 years or so, 102 years or so, where he takes on the title Christ. At this time, he's still Lord, God, Holy Ghost, all this, all that. You did what I'm talking about. He hadn't even taken on the name. He was just El, God. Is it not El who used Cyrus? Didn't y'all think it was odd that he used Cyrus as his Messiah? Y'all just thought that he would just do that naturally. No. Right? Cyrus was his people. Why? Because they come straight up out of Media. Hold on. Where's Media? Where's Media? Hold on. I know I got it somewhere. Straight up out of Media. Right? And remember, where's Christ gonna be stomping? He sent the Assyrians. The Assyrians is out of Media. He already had the land on lock. Just like when he moved his heaven, he already had Numidia on lock. So now we know why the biblical God used Israel's enemy, as his Messiah. Why? because he's actually Israel's enemy too. I'm saying, I think out of that whole play of the people being took by the Persian Medes over there into Media and Assyria and all that, and then later into Babylon, I think what we seen was really a lot of body snatching. They were taking the identity of real Israelites and Jews and stuff and becoming them. You dig what I'm talking about? Able to free themselves of the vassalage of, you would still be under the Assyrian rulership or the Babylonian overall rule, but you would be your own man now instead of just a slave. So I believe this is how a lot of people went in black but came out white, because it was really truly an invasion of the body snatchers. They was literally becoming these people, and this is how the Babylonian Talmud and stories like in the beginning God made the heavens and the earth. That's straight out of Babylonian literature. That's not Israelitish, right? But this is how they get intertwined, because the people, after being there a while, didn't even speak Hebrew anymore. Well, actually, they did. They learned Hebrew from the Babylonians, right? Remember, Israel didn't speak Hebrew. They spoke Aramaic. Babylonians spoke Hebrew. Turks spoke Hebrew. People from Media, you dig what I'm talking about, in the Middle East, who weren't Israelites and weren't Persians and weren't Phoenicians, you dig what I'm talking about, spoke Hebrew. Everybody else but the Israelites spoke. Right? And because of combining of, letters and all that stuff and scripts and stuff, you dig what I'm talking about, one script, the Aramaic script, is applied to the Hebrew. Because they're generally from the Middle East, people think they the same language, and they not. Right? That'd be like saying just because you French, you and a Russian can speak with each other. No, y'all, just because y'all both from Europe don't mean that y'all can understand each other when you talk. That's the same thing as a person who speaks Aramaic compared to a person who speaks Arabic, even though the script is similar, right? Just because they both from Europe, a Spanish person don't understand a Dutch person, and a Dutch person don't understand a Spanish person when they speak, even though they from the same place. Same thing with Aramaic and Hebrew. As a matter of fact, the Turks, the Edomites spoke Hebrew. First century BC, first century CE, and we don't see no Israelites or Jews writing in that language, but we see some white boys writing in Greek and Latin, purporting to be Jews. So we might need to relook at this Jacob and Esau thing. That's a whole nother lesson. I ain't even gonna get into that. But now we know why, right? Why Media was so important, because that's where the Assyrians come from. The people who leave, they left without a fight. The people who come back leave without a fight. Come back in. You dig what I'm talking about? They just marched down there. Taharka and them got the fuck on. Right? Was it a little couple skirmishes? Probably so. Yeah. But what? No. They didn't go down to. Why didn't they go to Merowe? Right? They had them on the run. Taharka just died. Why wouldn't you go down there and smash them? because that wasn't the deal. So, hate it or love it, Oahspe is giving us ways, to prove things. You dig what I'm talking about? We wouldn't normally even know, right? And they've been recorded in history, but they are used as proofs through time of the validity of the words that are spoken in the text. You dig what I'm saying? It's dope. I've never seen nothing like this, right? You go in the Bible, you start to try to ask where people is and do all that stuff. It just twists you all around. This not only give you the old names, it give you the places, and then how to prove it historically. Everything they said can be proved historically. A people who practice Buddhism, who was from a place in the East, did go rule for 100 years in Egypt. They're called the Kushite kings, the kingdom of Meroe. Flanders Petrie, the foremost Egyptian scholar ever, found a vibrant practicing Buddhist society in there. And then Oahspe say something weird that you can't explain this. How does this happen? That out of nowhere, right? A guy named Thoth would come back, right? During this 100 years, and then totally revive his worship at the same time that a demonic angel takes over for them same 100 years in heaven. They totally revived it. Thoth worship hadn't been practiced at least 1,000 years. By 750-ish, 700-ish, it had well been over 1,000 years since Thoth practice was even. You dig what I'm talking about? It was far out of use. So what's inspiring them to say, "Oh, we real Israelites"? You dig what I'm talking about? We real Egyptians. We gonna out-Egyptian the Egyptians, and we gonna bring back specifically Thoth worship. How? And then the people who come in to take it historically back from the Kushites are from Media, the same place Luamong run, the Christ. Come on, man. How do you deny that historically? If y'all see that it's proven itself historically, this wild narrative is wild. It sounds crazy until you actually look it up and you look for these things. Is there a place really in this guy named Ball said he made up a place in Rome named Arcala? Is it really a place on earth called Arcala? Yeah. You dig what I'm talking about? It just dropped these little Jews that have been noticed by history, but they're not looked at in this context. If you look at them in this context, it proves a whole nother different type of. You dig what I'm talking about? Something so innocuous, you wouldn't think that Buddhism would be such a big deal in Egypt until you understand the Kushite kings, right? Who have been migrating for hundreds of years into that area in Nubia. You dig what I'm saying? How they just get to come up in there and walk up in there, don't even bust no shots. You know what I mean? They ain't chop no heads. They ain't, you know what I mean? They ain't do no genocide against the Egyptians. They just said, oh, I think we'll just take that. Right? No. What happened was an alliance was entered into. Right? Luamong moved his heaven westward. Right? What's west of Egypt? Western Africa. Northwest Africa. That's Numidia. And immediately after that, Buddha established the heaven and had a nigga named Thoth there. Right? When he came back, he came and took that. No problems. Y'all niggas going back where y'all go. I'm gonna go back where I go. Cause I gotta go fight this dude Ball. Right? But this the headshot though. Buddhism in ancient Egypt and Meroe. What? Okay, even if it was in Egypt, why is it in Meroe? Huh? It was already in Meroe, and they took it to Egypt. That's what we find in. Flanders Petrie agrees. Well, how do they get over there? Right? Because these people are from the Kushite Empire that is getting bombed out. They've been migrating since 1150 BC. It's now 750. They all the way in Africa. A deal gets struck between gods. These people who are the Kushan, why they call them Kushan? Because they have the Kushite, and we know for a fact the people of Mohenjo-Daro and the Indian societies not only practice Hinduism, Brahmanism, but they also practice Zoroastrianism or Zarathustrianism. Right? The Meroite kings also wore white shirts in prayer. This is why they're called Kushites, because they're Zoroastrians. Right? These people who migrate from these Indus Valley societies, right? Around the 8th century, 7th century, start the 25th dynasty. Rule it for 100 years, and then they leave. Huh? All inspired by Baal and this nigga, Christ. I believe Christ really looked like that. I believe the God of the Bible, is a white man. When he was on the earth, living, breathing, he's a white man. You still be a white man in heaven. This is why the blanqueamiento, the whitening, the christening. You dig what I'm talking about? This is why, as an ideological basis of Christianism, it was pushed that white is right. Why? Because the God is a racist. That just makes sense. You dig what I'm talking about? And then niggas still got to explain to me why Jeebus, why Christ. Now, mind you, this is Christ, but the physical representation is Jeebus. They call him Christ, don't they? Jeebus Christ. Huh? Somebody still got to explain to me why this nigga look like Serapis. And then they calling the earliest worshipers of Serapis Christians. Somebody got to explain that to me. Huh? We know that these people been migrating over there since the 1200s BC. 50 years before the Bronze Age collapse started. I'm telling you, it started at 1150, ended around 750. Notice those are also called your Greek Dark Ages. Out of this pops up a whole new people. Right? Right in their very first books, as they're going into Egypt, they take on the name Greek. You dig what I'm talking about? Or Argosians. Brand new. Right? Mixed up with these Etruscans, these Minoans, and all these people who are moving west. Right at the same time of the what? I ain't make none of this up. Oahspe explained why, what, and when of the Bronze Age collapse. I ain't make none of this up. They give a roundabout date. I'm saying it happened exactly 1153 BC. That within 6 years of that, it was so much shit going on, falling out the sky. The lightning storms, stuff just burying cities, just bombing it out like meteorites and stuff falling out the sky, just bombing this place. Same thing happened to Troy. Same thing happened to Minoan society. Same thing happened to the Phoenicians. Why are every one of their cities burned and then buried under 50, 60 feet worth of material? It's dirt too. People think that stuff comes from only water. It falls out of the sky. But what they don't know is it's hot. Right? Because of the kinetic energy of it moving. Right? You got to think a lot of this stuff is falling from space. Picking up heat and kinetic energy, smashing into the ground like atom bombs. And in certain places, this stuff was miles deep. Huh? How do you think they make a coal bed? Huh? How do you think a fossil is made? Huh? How do you think a desert is made? Well, somebody got to explain to Cosmon how you bury a temple. How do you bury a pyramid? We know it was on flat land, had water there and everything. Right? How do you bury it? To where you can't even see it. Remember, they seen the Sphinx. They didn't see the pyramids. Pyramids was buried. The Sphinx head stuck out. And I think that's the second time the Sphinx was buried. Because remember, nobody in the Old Kingdom seen, or the Middle Kingdom, seen the Sphinx. Nobody even seen it. Remember, it was Ramesses who dreamt it and he dug it up. It was already there. Right? It's Ramesses. He don't get that to the New Kingdom. So between the Old and the Middle Kingdom, this is why nobody speaks of the Sphinx. When you're building the pyramids, nobody says, oh, we built the Sphinx too. Because it was already buried. Huh? Because of the same event that buried Göbekli Tepe. I think it's that old. They think the pyramids are 10,000 years old. They're not. The Sphinx is, though. Right? The Sphinx is from that time. You dig what I'm saying? From the time of Göbekli Tepe. This is why it has water erosion around it. Ain't no water in the desert. Huh? So it obviously predates the time that there was water there. Well, the last time that there was water there was prior to 4,500, like 5,000 BC. In that place, on Giza Plateau, that it was water like that. Right? That's 5,000 plus years ago. That's seven. That makes it 7,000 years old. That put it at least 2,500 years older than the pyramids. That's at the late. That's at the late end. I think it's way older than that. I think it got buried during Younger Dryas. That's why it got water erosion. And yet was buried underground for thousands of years that nobody seen it. It predates the pyramids. Period. Huh? But it ain't no mistake that we seeing this. Oahspe laying this shit out. It's laying it out. And then the dope part about it is we able to all put this on the timeline. We know when this happened. This is 1150 BC. How do I know? Because Ezra started 400 years into the Ark of Bond. Watch this. Let me show y'all something. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me see if I got a map. I mean, timetables of prophecy real quick. Huh? Let me show you. This is timetables of prophecy, right? Remember, God told you, I'm going to give you the moon and the sun's calendars and seasons, times, and all that stuff. Well, how you use it is taught in Oahspe. God just talked about it. Creator showed you how it's done. Now, Ezra is an 1,800 year period of time with 400 years of bombardment in the beginning and 400 years of bombardment at the end. Okay? Watch this. 400 years into the Ark of Bond, the 24th Ark cycle under Leka, all right? At the same time, Moses and Chinese and Capelia and all them is being born, right? Now, mind you, in 1553 BC, Moses is already 40. China and Capelia come a little later. They're a little later in the timeline. All right. But they all come in between 1553 BC and 1848 AD. That's a 3,400 year span of time. The 24th Ark cycle called Bond. Right? So we know where we started. 400 years into this time, right? Gives us what? 1153 BC. 400 years minus 400 years behind this. We're in 1153 BC. Ezra starts. What they like to call a plasma event or a mud flood. Wasn't no mud flood. Right? At least I got the way to tell you how that mud could have came out the sky. But I'm telling you, it came out the sky hot like molten lava. Twice as hot. You dig what I'm talking about? But 400 years, for 400 years, the earth is bombarded with fallen stuff coming from the sky. For 400 years, right? So from 1153 BC to 750 BC, the same time that we just looking at, is what we call the Bronze Age collapse. Right? Hold on. That's what we call in the Bronze Age collapse. Right? The period around what? 1200 to 1100 BC saw increased movement linked to this regional crisis. Now, the late Bronze, this was a worldwide crisis. This is what they don't know. Right? But it didn't affect the Americas in the same way it affected everywhere else. Now, look, the Bronze Age collapsed. The Eastern Mediterranean experienced widespread upheaval, environmental disasters, and the collapse of empires such as the Hittites and the Mycenaeans. around what? 1200 BC. This created a chaotic environment that spurred population movements and triggered the Iron Age. Why? Because we had to have the collapse of the Bronze Age. Right? So I'm not guessing. I told you exactly when it started, 1153. They say between 1200 and 1100. I'm saying it's right in the middle. Right? Why are you saying that, Cosmo? Because Oahspe saying it. Why? Because it can be proven historically. Now look, I want to show y'all this. So they saying between 1153 and 753 BC, the earth is being bombarded. But then you go roughly 1,000 years where just shit happens. You dig what I'm talking about? And it's going to lead you to 14 or to 1052 AD. You dig what I'm talking about? You're going to get to about 1052 AD. Right? And then you get 400 years of escrow. So from roughly 1050 AD to 1450 AD, you get the worst bombardment and desertification of the Americas, droughts, all that shit for hundreds of years. This is what takes off the Anasazi civilization. This takes out the Mississippian civilization. This takes out what's the Cahokia people. Take out Cahokia in about 1200. Takes them out, wipes them out, and somehow buries Cahokia underground. Remember, when they found Cahokia, it was already buried. They dug it up and found out that it was already a structure. Yup. So we didn't see. This is the same time that Death Valley is being made in the Americas. I'm saying it's not even that old. Death Valley was being made in between 1053 AD and 1450 AD. It's that new. How do we know? Because it's about the same age as the Terra Preta in South America. Because South America got ravaged. They got a little bit of it in the West, but I mean it wore South America out. So much that it lit all the forests on fire. It literally melted the mountains. Right? This is why you see many of them places like Corral Supe, they're blew apart. Like a bomb hit them. Rocks literally melted and all that stuff. Well, it literally caught because South America, the whole place was like a farm. It was totally, 100% farmed. You had places where people live, but everything in there was farmed. It was farmland, right? But then it got burned, right? It got set afire. You dig what I'm talking about? All of it. I'm talking about, imagine a continent on fire. Jungle just burning. You dig what I'm talking about? And this ain't no 1 or 2 time event. This thing happened over hundreds of years. Right? So because of the drying, so much drying out on the western side of the planet over here in America, you dig what I'm talking about, between 1053 and 1453, the last 400 years of the Ark of Bond, or from 1448 to 1848, these 400 years, right? Because we went through massive times of heat over on this side, over on the other side of the planet, for 400 years, they're going to go through an ice age. Is that true? Did that happen? Mind you, in 1448 starts the what? The time of exploration in Europe. The reason why they coming is because it was an ice age over there. It was a mini ice age. Watch this. Tell me about the mini ice age in Europe. When is it? I ain't got to make nothing up. The crazy part is how will Oahspe know this? The mini ice age in Europe. Now I'm telling you, for the prior 400 years, you had the making of Death Valley. It used to be a massive civilization. It got bombed out and turned into a desert. It was water there. You dig what I'm talking about? Western side of America and South America got bombed. Mexico got bombed, got turned into a desert. That's why it's a desert. Huh? But did y'all know that there was a mini ice age? Now you know why. The mini ice age, this is just a couple hundred years ago. This is why they're running over here. This is why they're having so many plagues. This is why they're dying in bunches. Huh? This is why they're having food famine shortages. Because they're going through an ice age. Huh? A mini ice age. In Europe refers to the little ice age or the LIA, a period, look when it is, a period of cooler temperatures and extreme weather from roughly the 14th through the 18th century, or from the 1300s through the 1800s. I'm saying the 1400s through the 1800s, same time, 1450 to 1850. This era saw widespread what? This is why they starving. This is why they running over here. What? A mini ice age. They seen crop failures, famines, what? Increased disease, forcing societies to adapt through agricultural innovations like new crops and efficient land management. This was even documented all the way in Asia, right? That they crops was failing and all that stuff. Huh? The LIA or the Low Ice Age was marked by events like the Thames Frost Fairs, but its exact causes remain debated. It's debated no longer. I'm telling you why. Huh? The reason you don't know, and the reason they always talk about volcanic eruptions, why? You dig what I'm talking about? Because they talking about something blocking out the sun. They don't understand that shit fall out the sky too. What reduced the solar activity? Huh? What made the oceanic circulation change? We know vortex makes it. Wouldn't vortex change it? I mean, they may not like it. You dig what I'm talking about? But all you got to do is debunk it. I showed historically that the narrative being brought forth in Oahspe can be proved. Unlike the Mahabharata or Quran or Bible or the Vestas, the Vedas, the I Ching, the Confucianary text, you can't prove none of that happened. Tell me when Jesus' birthday was. Huh? What year was Abraham born? Huh? What year was Moses born? Huh? Yeah. I don't, you dig what I'm talking about? Listen, you ain't got them answers. To get them answers, them type of deep spiritual answers, you got to be real with yourself, and then you got to understand that you don't know everything. Huh? Once you're willing to admit to yourself that, yo, I may not be the smartest man in the room, or maybe I've been lied to, right? Then you'll start learning, right? Then you'll be able to change your own paradigm. Why? Because you're no longer in belief. You only using stuff that can be proved. Now, the only reason I believe this stuff happened is because we can look on Earth and see what actually happened in real time. Only reason I believe it. If it wasn't some people who moved in for 100 years practicing Buddhism at the time they said it was gonna be there, huh? And they was reviving Thoth worship at the same time this nigga was gonna be there. And if it wasn't no Arcola, right? If the Assyrians wasn't in Media, and we find a ancient Christ worship in New Media, right? If we didn't find none of that, right? If we didn't know Mohenjo-Daro and the people of the Harappian societies and or the Kushite societies were practicing Zoroastrians, we wouldn't know where the people come from that they, when they say they migrated from the east, with the same exact name, the Kush. Why did the Kush take the title Kush? Because of practice. Kushan, Kushti, right? It's a Zoroastrian practice, and this thing can be proved legitimately. Huh? A war in 312 AD did happen between Greek worshippers of the Roman gods, right? And Christians at the Battle of Milvian Bridge. The Christian niggas won. They did change Byzantium to Constantinople. That's why Constantine won. Christ won. He beat Baal. If we couldn't prove none of that historically, you dig what I'm talking about? I wouldn't say it. It'd just be a story in Oahspe. You dig what I'm saying? But this type of axiomatic facts, figures, data, you dig what I'm talking about? Then we sprinkle in the scientific method to walk a thing down, and then sprinkle on some logic and common sense. You can't debunk none of that, what I just showed. If you can, slow it down. Get the section. I'm willing to sit and chat with anybody about anything. If I said it, I'm willing to stand on it. Right? If I said it, I'm willing to stand on it. Huh? You dig what I'm talking about? I'm willing to stand on it. Right? Y'all know. Look. Right? Now, do y'all know who this guy is? This is a total different Thoth. He with Christ in Egypt, and they're not doing Thoth worship to him. Huh? After the Meroitic guys leave, Thoth worship stop. But Luamong, the false god Christ, who's back in Egypt with the Assyrians now, got a right hand homeboy. His name is Thoth also. Do y'all know who that is? Do y'all know who this guy is? This Thoth, right? That's talking to Luamong. This is Allah. Thoth was Luamong's chief warrior god, angel. Look right here. Right? Now watch this. Now Luamong, right, saw that the other two triunes had taken new names falsely. What new names did they take? Buddha and Brahma. And that they had gained power by them. And he resolved to adopt for himself the names, what? The Lord and God. Right? Now Thoth, who is Luamong's chief warrior angel, also called Gabriel. Thoth Gabriel, the chief warrior angel for Luamong, right? Goes on later in time to take the title of all knowledge, which Allah means the Most High, right? Now, but look, this is the nigga who fighting against Baal. Luamong is the nigga calling the shots, but Thoth doing the fighting. Right? Thoth is chief warrior angel fighting against Baal, has said, most holy triune, I must give mortals a name to fight for. The term, what? Holy Ghost is not potent. So Luamong falsely assumed to be God and Lord of the heaven and earth. You see that? And look, he said to Thoth, right? Gabriel, the voice of God, right? Go tell mortals I am the same one who walked wonders for the Israelites, and behold, the Israelites will fight for me. And Thoth did this, and furthermore, Luamong inspired a mortal named who? Right? He inspired who? That's a headshot. It's why you worship Christ today. Because he inspired this false Jew to write this book. Now look, I ain't making this up. To accomplish this, Thoth employed 700,000 angels to be with Ezra and the numerous scribes whom Ezra employed. And by their inspiration, the books of the Ezra Bible, what we know as the Tanakh, the Torah, were written and compiled according to the commandments of Luamong, the false god Christ. And there were thus completed, what? 72 books. You only got 66 in the Old and the New Testament today. But just in the Old Testament, there were 72 books. Did you know that? And they were put on file in the king's library in Jerusalem, which was how the ancients preserved important records of events. And look, and these books were named by Ezra in Babylon, right? The Holy Library, or the Holy Bible, of which number 54 remain to this day. But look, but of these, talking about in the Bible, right? But of these, not one book was inspired by the Creator or by his Son, right? God of heaven and earth. God is the son of the Creator. Goddess is the daughter of the Creator. God and Goddess are not the Creator. See the difference? True God, true Goddess are sons and daughters of the Creator. They are not the Creator. Right? Nevertheless, there are many things within them of the Creator. Listen, not one book in the Bible was inspired by God or the Creator. Nevertheless, there are things within that Bible that are of the Creator and of his angels, even though they were not put on record by men, even though they were put on record by men and interpreted by men. Huh? So, you dig what I'm saying? I ain't tripping or nothing. You did what I'm talking about, but just to have some dope conversation, it would be dope to see somebody try to debunk that. Everything I just went to historically, pulled it up, boom, boom, boom. How do we know that it was only during 100 years? You dig what I'm talking about? That the Kushite kings were practicing Buddhism. Who knew that? I didn't know that. This is the dope part about Oahspe. We don't believe it. We check it out. And then I show you just like I'm finding it. Right? How is this written before anybody knew it existed? How did they know that the next rulership, that comes out of the 24th dynasty would be Buddhist? The 25th dynasty would be Buddhist. And that they would come in with no war and leave with no war. How do you do that? How you just randomly said that and it's just right? Remember, this JBN couldn't have known this. Nobody in history knew this. I think, it's faith-based, and we are called to faith this, but faith ain't got nothing to do with belief. Only in the fact of that faith is belief objectified. Right? I don't believe that 2 + 2 is going to be 4. I got faith in creation and the system and understanding of mathematics that 2 + 2 is going to always be 4. Right? That's a belief, right? Because math is subjective, made objective. Right? That is faith. To know a thing is going to happen and to watch it happen. Right? And to do the right thing to allow a thing to come into existence, or be, you dig what I'm saying? Because you know it's going to come. I know 2 and 2 is going to be 4. It ain't never going to be 5. It ain't never going to be 3. You dig what I'm saying? That's something subjective, like a belief made objective. You dig what I'm saying? Mathematics is subjective. But what it proves is totally objective. So that's the difference between like belief and faith. So is it faith-based? Yeah, it's some faith in the understanding the things that we don't know, but the learning is objective. And that's why they call us objective spiritualists or realist. Right? We realist. Like, you can't tell me something and you can't show it. You dig what I'm talking about? So, it's about a faith ended up a knowing, right? Faith is I know something is going to happen, so I'm going to move a certain way. All right? But that faith becoming objective, you dig what I'm talking about, is what a real spiritualist is. And the thing is, that's the misunderstanding of magic. Magnetism, kinetic energy, and knowledge, right? Or spirit or belief or faith being objectified. Right? No, it's just Oahspe. It just started off as Oahspe. It wasn't it came all at once. Boop. You dig what I'm talking about? Hitting like steel. Hitting like steel. Only book in the world that say, only spiritual book in the world that say the nigga of America is the Indian of America. And then say, ain't no other people like us in the world. Man is, yeah, in a sense, all the same, 99.9%, but there ain't nobody like these niggas in America. And then he said, I put y'all special here on purpose. Ain't no more of y'all. Right? Ones in North America, special. Right? Not necessarily different, just special. Yeah. So no, it wasn't no, it's the whole kit and caboodle. You dig what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's the whole kit and caboodle. You dig what I'm saying? It's this, you know. This the whole doo-wop Willie right here, man. This the coldest book in the world. Coldest, but I ain't no sucker, bro. I ain't no buster, never been no hoe. I ain't scary. You dig what I'm talking about? None of that. I will put anything. You can go get whatever script text you think you know on whatever subject you want to talk about. Because we ain't shy on subjects neither. Nigga, I'm from America. I was breaking down Meroitic Kushite Buddhist. Nigga, in 750. You ain't know nothing about it. Then none of us know nothing about it. You dig what I'm saying? But we gotta check what Oahspe saying, man. We just don't believe this. Right? We don't believe it, bro. And until it proves itself objectively, it's fake. You dig what I'm saying? I mean, every Bible is a collection of books. It's just put them together. It's just a bunch of collection of books or scrolls or however you want to say it. Yeah. That's what a Bible is, a collection of books. Yup. You dig what I'm saying? But the difference is there ain't no sources for Oahspe. Ain't no sources. You dig what I'm talking about? He didn't go get this shit from somewhere else or no. This shit is zip bam boom. You dig what I'm talking about? And ain't no way. And once you get into it, what it's actually saying, you see, couldn't no man have known this. Oahspe told them niggas 100 years before, damn near 120 years before they found this goddamn ramp in Egypt, that it was a ramp around the goddamn pyramid of Giza. And that's how they built them. Huh? Oahspe was telling them they had a hydro lift system. You dig what I'm talking about? Like with pumps and what do you call them things where you move the water up? A lock. They had lock systems. Huh? Pulleys. You dig what I'm talking about? What is them damn things called? Capstans. Massive ass capstans. Man, you could have moved one of them ton bricks easy. Slap that thing around there, and then you dig what I'm talking about. You put it on floaties. Right? You put it on floaties, right? And you fill the pyramid up with water. And then you let the water out. The brick gonna flip upside down. The floating part gonna be at the top. You dig what I'm talking about? Then you float it to where you want to go, and you let the water out. Right? Float everything where it want to go, and everything stack. Just fall into place like Legos. And then when it's time to do it again, you fill up the rest of it, float up the pieces. You did what I'm talking about. Slide them up the ramps using the cap stands. All you would have had to do was have big pack animals. One pulling one way, one pulling the other way. It would have moved it right up the goddamn ramp. Slid. It wouldn't even have took that long. Dump them inside the pyramid. This is how they move in tons and tons and tons of brick. Water. They're floating them. You dig what I'm saying? Lifting them up through hydraulic lifts and lock systems. Slide them into the ramp, slide them into place, let the water out, they fall right into place. Right? And then let's just say you need the water to stay in there, right? You let some of the flotation go off the that's holding on to the rock, and it'll just slide down where you want to go. Bam! Right in the water. All right. Move the other one out the way. Let's say you wanted to stack 2 or 3 on top of each other. You would just move them on top of each other, let the air out of one, boom, it'll sink. Take the rafting off one, boom, it'll sink right on top of it. Boom, boom, boom. You just place it. It's like a Lego. Right? When it's sealed in, you dig what I'm talking about? You can just boom, 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 slam the bricks up in there. You know, they tons though. They weigh tons. And slap them joints up in there real fast. You dig what I'm saying? Wouldn't even take that long to build a building like the pyramid. Even with them massive type of stones. Now, one thing I still haven't figured out, I won't lie about. I don't know how the hell they cut them stones. I got an idea, but I don't know. I don't actually know how they cut them stones, but I know it's a machine. Right? They got some type of cutter. I think it uses light and sound. Right? But that's just a theory. I don't actually know. Oahspe don't even say. There is a book called The Law of One, that says they ask the rocks to move. Right? Remember in the Bible where they said, you know, they asked the mountains to fall on them and all that stuff, or they told them the mountain get out my way and all that. The mountain picked up and moved itself, and yeah, they saying there is a oneness in all things, and if you make a proper call, a proper answer is given. You dig what I'm talking about? And through that proper answer, all material can reform and shape how you want to. So they basically saying they thought it into existence. Literally, like dropping it out of air. I don't necessarily believe that fully, because I know there was actually machinery that was used, but I can't figure out how they cut them rocks. You dig what I'm saying? I that's one thing I can't figure out yet. You dig what I'm talking about? Say faith is deal with concrete information. Facts. Oahspe shows you concrete information. You can pinpoint in history and even science. I'm saying that science proves everything Oahspe say. Everything. You dig what I'm talking about? Science don't do nothing but back Oahspe. Anything can be done with anything. But we've tried to do it with Bible, and no, it hasn't been done. You dig what I'm talking about? If they could prove it with Bible, they would prove it. Right? It would have already been done. Nah, it can't be done with Bible. That's the difference. One real and one fake. One goes out to prove everything it say. One say, fear the Lord. That's the beginning of all knowledge. No, nigga, that dog. We can't prove that. You dig what I'm talking about? Prove to me. Okay, they say it's a Moses. Let me show you. You can't do it. They say it's a Moses in the Bible. Well, who is Moses in Egypt? What's his name? Right? Using the Bible, you get silencio el stupido. You get nothing. You get silence. Using Oahspe, though, it tell you he's a Menahat IV, son of a Menahat III, adopted son and brother of Sobek Neferu, the last queen of the 12th dynasty. He left 1553 BC, right? Yeah. Before the new kingdom started. As the new kingdom was starting with Amos. Huh? Amos' mama and them did battle against Sobek Neferu. Moses left the scene. Amenemhat IV left the scene. That's the difference. Right? Nigga don't gotta believe me, but there you go. Right? We didn't been did these stuff. We light years ahead of niggas on this shit. Every book got characters in it. You dig what I'm talking about? So, yeah, but Oahspe are primary to what they say about them. Oahspe say absolutely the opposite of everything they say in the Bible about any person in the Bible. But then they at least tell you when they lived, when their birth year was, how would you go about proving they existed? At least it goes to those steps. You dig what I'm talking about? This is how I know Moses was born in the year 1593. Yeah. No. The Oahspe don't verify Bible. It debunks the Bible. It debunks and decodes it. No. Yeah. No, Bible fake. And the biblical God in there is a demon. You just heard that, right? God who wrote the Bible is a demon. Let that sink in. I'll say it one more time. The God who wrote the Bible is a demon. Who want that smoke? Y'all still ain't answered Daryl Cosmon. Ain't nobody answered Daryl Cosmon yet, man. You dig what I'm talking about? He came out, call y'all niggas God a goddamn demon. Y'all ain't gonna say nothing? Damn.
Yeah, the game coming, creator king coming. Turning up the light and watching boys start running. Let me tell you something, we ain't out here doing nothing. I can tell you scared, boy, niggas stop fronting. It was all in the plan.
No, it don't. Stop lying, bro. It don't speak of characters in their backgrounds. It don't do that, bro. Stop capping. Get in Oahspe. Yeah. No, we ain't about to do no whole back, a bunch of back and forth. Get in Oahspe. What did you just gonna cause confusion up here? You did what I'm talking about. Come back, read something. You did what I'm talking about, asking all them questions about something you don't know nothing about. Learn something about it. And then come back and ask me a question. That's a legitimate question. Right? Instead of just blindly asking these questions about something you don't know nothing about. Right? No, it ain't saying what you saying. It's debunking what you saying. Yeah, just sit in the crowd. You dig what I'm talking about? I'll sign your jersey later, young chap. Dig what I'm saying? But until then, you dig what I'm saying? You're just gonna have to sit and learn, King. Just gonna have to sit and learn. All right, we'll beat it. You dig what I'm talking about? I'm not trying to hold you to nothing, bro. I'm not trying to hold you to nothing. You dig what I'm talking about? I'll smash you with that Bible, though. I'll beat you with Bible. You dig what I'm talking about? So just stay over there with that. You dig what I'm saying? I ain't trying to pull you over here. I ain't trying to get you not. I ain't asking none of you niggas to get in the game. You notice I ain't asked none of y'all to be creator gang. Never. If you was supposed to be there, you'd already be there. You dig what I'm talking about? I take some smoke with that Bible, though. You dig what I'm talking about? I'll debate that Bible. You dig what I'm saying? I think I know it better than you. You dig what I'm saying? So, real talk, and it don't matter what you saying, because in the end of the day, that Bible can't debunk shit Oahspe said. It don't even know nothing about it. Right? Vague instances of historical things written hundreds of years after they already happened. Stop. It ain't gonna get it. They ain't gonna get it. You dig what I'm talking about? But y'all gonna get it one day, right? You gonna say you heard. You ain't believe it. You ain't want to look into it. You wasn't intelligent enough, to look past your own cognitive dissonance. You dig what I'm saying? You didn't have enough spiritual ineptitude, right? To look into something and not just take it on face value. You dig what I'm talking about? Like you did Bible, because you ain't proved shit in the Bible, and yet you believe it. You don't know nothing about it. Nothing. Right? So, with that being said, you dig what I'm talking about. Y'all boys better be cool, because I punch on people.
Create a gang is crazy. Boy, y'all better pay attention.
Shout out to Cosmon Cow. Cosmon Cow, boy, I'm going to tell you something. He is a problem. He is a problem when it comes to these Hebrew Israelites. Y'all better stop playing. He is a problem. Cosmon Cow is a problem. Create a gang.
We fight as a single, impenetrable unit. That is the source of our strength.
You dig what I'm talking about? These, if you're not catering to people, you dig what I'm talking about? Trying to sweeten up the pot, and you dig what I'm talking about? Kowtow to them. You dig what I'm talking about? Them the type of people who will take their sub back. You dig what I'm saying? It don't matter. Nothing can stop the light and the progress of the Creator. This is why we always win. We put the work in and let the rest handle itself. Jaja's undefeated. But with that being said, you dig what I'm saying? With that being said, y'all know what I need you to do. We done already balanced all balances, checked all checks, because you know what happens next when you see that butterfly vortex. Hey, Cosmonian, Mr. Anakwakaiki, the cloud kicker. Just proving this historical narrative. It's unmatched. It's unmatched. Right? Bring your holy book. Bring your God. Come off the porch. Let me punch on both of y'all. And with that, I just want you to breathe in. Let that light in, because I'm Cosmon, and I'm out.
And oh yeah, put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feel it when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh,
it's that Jehovah, that Chow Mein, that Papa Bull, that Tao Mein, since sunset in the arc of Wayne. My brain moving like Tao Sang, so ass above, it's so below. That up and that down thing, this flow is atmospheric. I call that a ground game. See, water is knowledge, so if I'm teaching, you're learning. So how your God make a sun without vortexing and current? See, the pattern is ponic, I'm reaching out for my people. Oahspe flow through your speakers, you feel the force of the ether. And when the force gets the equal, I'm taking off like an eagle. Police popped the pastor yesterday for pushing Puerto. My DNA is Moshe. Mix that thing with higher water. My spirit rate is OTN, it's just a higher order. Got more light than Kavita. Rap a lot just like Tila. Went from sinner to saint. Shout out my big homie Sela. Got more torque than a sports car. Got more work than a door stop. And the 4 million I make, I'm giving the Dr. Umar, oh yeah.
Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah.
Super 7 in my rites and ceremonies. I'm married to Jehovah, holy matrimony. Confucius say, in the words of Caillou, before you hit the tomb, be a bridegroom. Only got one question for Miss Susan B. On how to last Ahuin is now a Angui. Blame my inspiration, I'm just thinking thoughts. But in the way of God's, we gon' keep it short. Why Jesus wanna kill me, Matthew 10:34. Just a couple questions that I'm needing to know. Oahspe flow is so potent, set the vortex in motion. Super 7, I'm floating across the Aegean Ocean. Oh, you a Muslim now, so I guess you making salat. Well, I'm a Israelite, I'ma make him at the Shabbat. Got Moses on the bumper, super slap off in my spaceship photosphere. So I stay lit, peace and light to the faith is so yeah.
Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you're feeling up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied air. When you're breathing rarefied air, oh yeah. Put that Super 7 in the air. Tell me how you feeling when you feel it up there. When you in the sky breathing rarefied